This is probably a weaker year, I'd say, for actors and actresses as a whole, but it's not without some truly groundbreaking performances. Many of the performances on this list led me to completely change my opinion on the respective actor's career and everything that came before. They took daring risks and gave original takes that surprised audiences. It's hard to quantify what makes a great performance, right? Because you can be daring and transformative, and at the same time you can do none of these things and still be just as good. I think what matters most is your ability to tap into the emotion of a character or a scene and how well you're able to convey that emotion. But it can be difficult to isolate what makes something great. These actors tapped into some greater emotion and touched me from the other end of the screen. Here are the nominees for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Adrien Brody, The Brutalist. This is, if I'm allowed to say something like this, maybe the most emotionally powerful performance I've ever seen in my life. The amount of dedication it takes to lead through a film like this is remarkable, and Brody captured resentment, pain, and hope in a way that left my jaw on the floor. A character like this, I can't imagine how much it takes out of you. He was constantly bombarded with complications emotionally and physically, and yet he was still able to give it his all. There was so much under the surface, and at the same time there was so much above the surface. He was a dual threat, an insanely qualified actor. Daniel Craig, Queer. Another one of these performances that I was just floored by. I've never seen Daniel Craig do something quite like this. I mean, he had his quirks in Knives Out movies and Logan Lucky, but this is just on another level. He reaches a depth of vulnerability and love that can't be ignored, a pain so deep it makes your skin crawl in your seat. There's a scene where he's just looking out into space, and it's probably one of the greatest things I've ever seen. He's got such a unique charisma, and I hope he continues in this direction. Josh Hartnett, Trap. Talk about a man who understands the kind of movie he's in. Hartnett turns his dial up to 11, making himself infinitely more charismatic than he was in the past and making it impossible to take your eyes off him. He leans into the character at every opportunity and uses Shyamalan's unique style to create a self-help serial killer I hadn't seen on the screen before. Charming, funny, and original. A great combination. Josh O'Connor, La Chimera. This man is filled with so much whimsy. He's so curious and intelligent, and it comes off remarkably well in a film like this. His gentle nature and disheveled attitude come across wonderfully on screen, and it's very easy to connect with him emotionally. He's just got a charisma that you don't run into every day, and I love the way he holds himself. It's such a remarkably different role from his work in Challengers as well, so it's nice to see that level of diversity pop up right away. It's kind of like when I watched Florence Pugh for the first time in 2019, bursting on the scene with two hot films I couldn't take my eyes off of. Sebastian Stan, A Different Man. Oh, how I've waited to talk about Sebastian Stan. He revolutionized the way I think about him twice in the same year. With this role, his cowardice got to me a lot, and his anger was vivid. His comedic timing was perfectly well done. He has a tendency toward the subtle, which was perfect for this kind of role. He said so much behind the eyes. Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice. Like I said, this was a hell of a year for Sebastian Stan. When I first heard about him playing the role of Donald Trump, I damn near thought this movie was a throwaway. It turns out I couldn't have imagined a better actor to play this part. Do you know how hard it is to play Donald Trump without it seeming like a knockoff impression? How do you take a character like him seriously? Stan had an answer to all of these questions, and he gutted me with his responses. Just like Jeremy Strong's character, you were both disgusted by his lack of humanity and strangely sympathetic for a guy who comprehends so little about human connection. And then you get re-disgusted for feeling sympathetic. It's a performance so good you start to spiral out of control. Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown. While this isn't my favorite performance of his, I'm starting to think that nothing will top his 2019 performance in Little Woman, but it doesn't take his best to receive a nomination here. Many people are starting to compare him to a young Leo DiCaprio, which I think is a very apt comparison because he's been putting out excellent work consistently for a long time now. He's got popular appeal and looks, and his films tend to work at the box office. The film industry has loads of stars, people just don't go to movies because of them. Stars have to be savvier now and pick better projects, which they do. What does that have to do with Bob Dylan? I don't know. But Timmy was good, and that's the important thing. Timothée Chalamet, Dune Part 2. I struggled to give him a double nomination here because neither of his performances are as good as Sebastian Stan's in my opinion. I do think both of them are great performances though, especially his work in this film here. Like many of the actors in the original Dune, I thought he was a little wooden, but in this film his charisma and ability just spiked over the top. His speeches were resonant, his chemistry stronger, his weariness well documented, on every level a triumph. Perfect for this film and a great leading man. Definitely some of the best work he's ever done. So like I said, there's not very many options here, but at the very top it's still rich with talent. Lead performers have so much to carry on their shoulders because it's not like they just have to act every day on camera. They also have an expectation to lead the other actors around them and respond to the director's messaging faster. The top guy in this category was responsible for so much of the product on screen, and he created a powerhouse of a character that electrified every scene he was in. The winner is... Daniel Craig, Queer. This might not just be one of the best performances of the year, it could be one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. He's just that strong, he's undeniable. It's easily the greatest work he's ever done, far better than his other stuff. As for the Silver Turtle, I think I'm going to put Adrian Brody inside of a Sebastian Stan sandwich. Those three performances are lightning in a bottle, and I think it's impossible to talk about film in 2024 without them. But that's going to do it for me, so I just want to let you know that I've been thinking about candles lately. It would be just really cool if I had a candle. You ever just think, man, a candle would really complete my room. You have a candle in the background, and then you're reading a book, or you're playing a game, or just anything with a candle, and then your room smells good. It's like it adds so much to your quality of life. It's such a great part of your day. And so I really hope you have a candle with you. Other than that, I mean, just keep on keeping on. I hope you have a great day. And if I buy a candle, I'll be thinking about this video. And I think that's the most important thing about the internet is it causes connections like that. Is when I buy a candle, I think about some video that I made. So if you like candles and if you like this video, then I guess you should subscribe. If you don't like candles, that's okay. If you're more of an incense kind of person, actually I prefer incense. I think it's a more interesting way of lighting and getting a smell. But they both have their advantages and disadvantages. So maybe I'll buy both and then see what happens between those two. Yeah.